As consumers, we are bombarded by it at every turn, like the Incredible Hulk being bombarded by gamma rays. But what makes some media endure, while others are banished to the forgotten black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again? Who or what decides this? Hetero life mates Steve and Yahel want to know, and they want to know now. This is Obscurity Now. And what's up, Obscurians? It's time for another episode of Obscurity Now, the show that takes a look at weird and almost forgotten pieces of media, and then we decide if they should be remembered for all of human history, or tossed in the black void of obscurity, never to be heard from again. My name is Steve, I'm one of the hosts, and with me, he's a man who's turning evil doers into evil don't-ers. It's...
It is Yahel. How are you doing?
Oh, doing great. I mean, you know, we've got a lot of free time on our hands, so all is well, right?
Yes, indeed.
I'm just reeling.
What's that?
I'm just reeling from the aftershocks of our Look Well episode. It's sent lightning bolts out throughout the business. There's going to be an entire Look Well franchise reignited thanks to us.
Yeah, I actually ended up telling a few people about it, and I know two of them watched it, and they loved it. And I guess I had forgotten to just kind of mention that, because I didn't really think anybody would watch it, that there was only one episode.
Oh,
and they were like, where can I watch the rest?
Oh, wow. That's like...
And I'm like, your imagination.
That's like, when you give someone steroids and they ask for more, and then you're like, how about some money, buddy? Huh? Is that...
What? Is it like that?
I mean, I wouldn't know.
I don't think that's how they do steroids. They're not like, first steroid is free.
Oh, it's not? How does it work then? Please tell us. Enlighten us.
Well, I think because I've never taken steroids, so I couldn't tell you, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't take effect. It's not like you inject it and you get a high from it, or even like muscles instantly. Like, it's after a few weeks,
right.
I think, of injecting.
You have to take a cycle or whatever. I think that's the correct terminology. But
Sure. Hey, are you somebody with body dysmorphia that took steroids? Let us know in the comments
yes.
about your experience.
Call us at 555 roided, or 555 roid rage. Yeah.
I'm more of an Ico Pro man myself.
What was the Tren? I think that's one. Supposedly it's...
Yeah, Tren is a steroid.
A molecule away.
Anabol.
Yeah. We should have a steroid of the week.
Anavar is another one, I think, or Avanar, something like that.
I think that's a new one. I made a Solnas reference when I was visiting my family, and nobody knew what it was, because a lot of them work in the healthcare industry. I'm like, come on, don't you know what all the 80s wrestlers took to kill the pain? Get with it.
Oh man. Well, I guess like methamphetamines and narcotics are the big thing now. Like your Ritalins and Vyvanse and Oxycontins.
Sure. Sure. That's what.
So Soma like pales in comparison to today's narcotics.
So they've been. So what you're saying is that it's okay to take them. All right, send them on over, Yahel. I want them right now.
Yeah. I think Fun Dip is coming out with a crushed Soma flavor pack
for kids. Soma's for kids. I mean, well.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's actually it's actually called Soma Junior.
Well, those kids know what kind of future is going to be waiting for them when they grow up, so they might as well get hit.
None.
Yeah, they might as well get hooked on pain pills now. It'll just help for the future. And another reason why those kids would be depressed is because there's only one season of Stripperella for them to watch.
Is that a reason for them to be obsessed, Steve? I don't know. We're going to find out by the end here.
Wow, these transitions are they're just...
They're smoother than the pole Stripperella slides her naked, supple body down.
Wow, it's getting better and better. So, yes, dear listener, sitting on our list in a darkened corner for quite a while is Stan Lee's Stripperella, and it's a animated...
That's right, Stan Lee's Stripperella.
That's right, the Stan Lee, and, well, I mean, I guess we should just jump right into it. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, here we go.
Welcome to your feature presentation.
All right, before I, get into the facts here, I want to know: have you ever seen an episode of Stripperella at all?
No, I don't think I had. I remember the commercials because this aired on Spike TV, if I remember correctly. So I'm pretty sure I remember the commercials airing,
Right,
but
because you and I were
uh,
big time TNA marks back in the day.
and by TNA, folks, we're not talking about tits and ass. We're talking about total nonstop action.
Right.
This is not a joke. I know it sounds like a joke the more I talk about it and explain it, but Total Nonstop Action is a wrestling company. They rebranded to Impact Wrestling, but now, Steve, I don't know if you
I
saw,
saw.
they've gone back this week to TNA Wrestling, and they've got new championship belts now that with the old school TNA logo, and they're filming their first TNA rebranded shows this week. But yeah, TNA used to air, wrestling used to air on Spike TV, and this is like when Spike TV was doing the whole. I guess it was the whole time about how they're like the man's network or
Right,
whatever,
right.
network for
It
men.
went from TNN and then it became Spike, and yeah, yeah, there were the men's network. They got like Ren and Stimpy on there for some reason, and
Like a more adult
yep.
version of Ren and Stimpy. I think that was a few years into the Spike TV thing.
And they had, I guess,
A Thousand Ways to Die, I think, was another one of their big shows.
right, and also didn't some of those MMA? That's when a lot of MMA stuff sort of crept in as well.
Yeah, they had like a reality UFC show that I think aired right after TNA Wrestling.
And and then they also always tried to do like cross promotion between the two, and the MMA guys would show up on TNA, and few people would care. But I mean, I'm just glad to
Yeah.
say I'm glad the TNA brand is back, because that makes the TNA tattoo on my lower back relevant again. Before everyone's like, "What?
Yes,
What's that?"
finally, finally. Yeah, I always thought though that like, and you and I were both in the age range that they were going for Spike
hmm
TV, and even then, like I thought a lot of like their shows like catered towards men or whatever were
hmm
just cringy, and like they were catering to like the low, they're basically catering to the market of guys that would put like truck nuts on their
Yeah, I mean, it
unnecessary trucks with a
wasn't.
lot, not every show, but a lot of the
Right,
shows.
right. It wasn't the smartest humor, for sure. I would say, I don't know. I would say dudes who read Maxim. I mean, not that I'm like crapping on the magazine or anything, but I mean, do you think that's fair? People who had a
I,
subscription
I,
to
I,
Maxim.
I think you're right in that that's who they were going for,
hmm
but in their execution, I don't think that's who ended up watching. Because you're right. I think that is like because Maxim was really big, and there were a bunch of like Maxim knockoff magazines too at the
hmm
time. And yeah, I'm sure that's exactly who they were going for. But yeah, a lot of these shows were just cringe. Although I will say the Joe
Right.
Schmo show did come from Spike TV, so I got to give him that
And
one.
that is also on our list someday.
Yeah,
Let us know in the comments if you want us to cover the Joe Schmo show. But yeah, I mean,
I want us to cover the Joe Schmo
I
show.
do
Right?
I do know they had Blade the series on there. You ever watch an episode of
Mm-hmm.
Blade the series?
No, no, but I remember commercials for it.
It's pretty
Um,
decent. It's okay. Pretty good.
okay.
hmm
See, and that's kind of like what I think they should have done more of. Didn't they like relaunch the Man Show on there too? But I think maybe they were just airing reruns or something.
That I
Uh,
don't remember at all.
but I'm glad we prepared to
Hey,
discuss
I think
Spike
we've
TV
given a
at
lot
length.
of background on Spike, a cable network that no longer exists. I mean, let's be clear here, people. Spike TV was no UPN,
Yeah.
but
So they did have you're 100% right. Blade the series, Blue Mountain States. Oh yeah, Cops. They used to show Cops all the time.
mm-hmm.
Oh God, To Catch a Contractor. I think they just did like too much reality TV, and they should have probably like leaned into more scripted stuff.
Right.
Chris Angel,
Oh God, I
Believe.
hated that guy. Jesus, he's not around anymore, is he? I mean, someone
I mean, he's
surely
alive.
murdered him. No, no, you hell. I see in my mind vividly that someone assassinated him. Someone with three names. I'm pretty sure.
I see. I
Dave, it
see. I
was David
see.
Copperfield. Actually, he like reappeared, took him into a dimension, disappeared. He was never seen again. It's a true story, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, yeah,
But I mean, Spike was owned by Viacom, which owns like MTV. I mean, back then they were doing a lot of reality shows, and reality shows are cheap, so it doesn't surprise me that
yeah.
Spike had a lot of reality shows back then. But
And it was Mansers that I was thinking of, not the Man Show.
Mansers, what was that?
I just remember it being
Oh,
like a late night kind of comedy
like
show.
Answers, but man, all right, I got it. I think I've seen commercials for that.
Yeah, I remember it not being that great. And if I remember right, like funny enough, like half the producers were women anyway. So
Oh well, that's an interesting tidbit. Um,
and I do remember that like a narrator would shout Mansers and like something would explode. It'd be like an
it's
explosion.
like the secret
So that's
word
kind
on
of what
Pee
I
Wee's
mean by like
Playhouse. Yeah,
that's kind of what I mean by like, oh, there would be like somebody going, oh, this is what men want, like somebody yelling in an explosion. And
sure,
it's like, yeah, the guys that put truck nuts on their trucks.
sure, yeah,
Those guys.
I gotcha. But yeah, as far as my history with Stripperella, I think maybe while I was waiting for an episode of TNA to come on, I caught the last like 10 or 15 minutes, and I
I
remember.
thought you were going to say the last 10 or 15 episodes. I don't know.
There's not even that many episodes. There's
I know there's
yeah.
like 13, right?
Yeah, no, I just sat there and watched them all. But no, I remember because I think at the time Pamela Anderson was dating Kid Rock and he was in the show. But then
Right.
Stripperella was there, but then also Pamela Anderson herself was there. So I could tell that there was definitely some sort of like take it with a grain of salt kind of meta comedy going on, but I mean it wasn't enough to make me want to come back and like watch some more or anything. I just sort of forgot about it until now. So let's just go ahead and
Yeah, let's get into it. I think we've, we much like the strippers on the show, we've teased the audience long enough.
well,
It's time to undress, reveal our review, if you will.
nicely played. All right, so we are watching Stripperella season 1, episode 1 and 6, which is actually a two-parter. Spike, the great network we were just talking about, for whatever reason, did not air Stripperella in the proper order. So they started with
And this is a freaking two-parter,
yeah.
and they didn't air it in the right
So the
order.
title of this episode is
That's just like a man thing to do.
Oh yeah. I'll read the
You know,
instructions later.
it's meta, it's fine. I'll play it when I get
Yeah,
to it.
these dudes don't care about the plot. They're just here for the animated tits. But yeah, this is Beauty and the Obese parts 1 and 2, and it premiered the first episode was premiered June 26, 2003. And then episode 6, or part 2, if you will, premiered October 2nd, 2003. It's just last one season from 2003 to 2004. 13 episodes, and each are about 30 minutes apiece. And yes, we've already mentioned that this is created by Stan Lee. Yes, the Stan Lee. And by created, basically, he pitched the show and handed the character outlines to the two writers here, Kevin Koplo and Heath Seifert. And yeah, so that was basically his involvement. I think at this point he had already distanced himself from Marvel, and he had his own sort of production company called POW Entertainment. This was like their first big project, basically. And of course, we know Stan Lee, creator of such superheroes as Ravage 2099, The Impossible Man, and Nightcat, and nobody else. I mean, I can't think of anyone else. Can you, Yahel? Can you?
No, I can't. He wasn't very prolific.
You got that right. I mean, that sounds like a fake name if you ask me.
Hmm.
But so here is the synopsis for the series, and it goes as follows. Pamela Anderson provides the voice of Erotica Jones, who is stripper by night, and superhero Stripperella by even later at night. And I don't know, that synopsis kind of cracks me up.
That is pretty funny.
I wonder what genius wrote that. Was it you?
It was Pamela herself.
And basically, the synopsis for the 2 episodes we're about to watch is supermodels just start becoming morbidly obese out of nowhere, and Stripperella basically has to find out why. And these 2 episodes were directed by Kevin Altairi, and that name has actually popped up before when we covered the Gen 13 movie, which he also directed, Batman the Animated Series, Cops Fighting Crime in a Future Time, and G.I. Joe Renegades. So check those out if you want to see his other work. And then, as I said, the writers are Kevin Koplo and Heath Seifert, and they're basically a writing team. They worked on all the same stuff together. 65 episodes of Singled Out. Why do we need writers for the MTV show Singled Out?
Well, you got to write those funny quips and transitions between Jenny Garth.
No, Jenny McCarthy.
Probably best known for letting her baby get every disease possible because she thinks vaccines are fake.
It's Jenny McCarthy, not Jenny Garth.
Jenny McCarthy, yeah. Oh, Jenny Garth is from Beverly Hills 90210.
Right.
I apologize, Miss Garth.
Wait, this just in. She doesn't like vaccines either. So, no, I don't know.
Well, she does like nose jobs.
Oh,
nothing wrong with that.
zing.
Maybe overdid.
And nose candy, too, I hear. What? You don't like that joke?
Oh, I just wasn't aware that. Maybe I started thinking, is that why she got nose jobs? I started wondering maybe she had some kind of damage. Sorry, I just kind of went into my own head.
All right. Well, don't forget, we are. Well, I was going to say we are live, but we're recording live to tape, so watch out.
I think it's a pretty well-known fact that dead silence is good. With an audio medium, it gives your audience a chance to stop and think.
Yeah, think about how they're wasting their time hearing 2 guys talk about Stripperella. Anyway, so they also worked on All That together, Good Burger, Keenan and Kel, and I guess they're also getting residuals from the new Good Burger movie because it's all based on their characters. I mean, as you can see, real powerhouses, like at least in the Viacom community. So, who are some of the thespians that loaned their voice to Stripperella?
All right. Well, starting off the bat, we of course have Pamela Anderson. You probably know her best for being Pamela Anderson.
I do. I get that reference.
Yeah, but obviously Baywatch, this show. Did you ever watch that show VIP?
Oh, I'm familiar with it. I don't think I've ever seen a full episode.
I remember watching a few of those. It was like this awful syndicated show where like they were like it's kind of like a little bit of a Charlie's Angel-esque. Sure. They're like spies. I don't remember exactly, but it was like, from what I remember, bad, but tongue in cheek enough, and knew it was bad just enough to make it entertaining.
Why, that sounds like an animated series that we're doing a podcast on almost. But don't forget Barbed Wire, of course. In fact, we should review that someday. That would be pretty fun.
Yeah, which Barbed Wire is like a movie based off Stripperella, right?
No, Barbed Wire was an actual Dark Horse character.
Oh, okay. Well, what did you think, by the way, about Pamela Anderson's performance?
She is not a good voice actress. Like, I mean, as long as she can just do a regular voice, then it's no big deal. But like, there were times when, you know, she needed to be sort of like excited or scared, and she didn't really do that.
Yeah, for me, I agree. It was like all over the place. There were a few times where it was like surprisingly good, but for the most part, I don't know. Yeah, like sometimes it'd be like bad, and other times it was. I mean, it's okay for the most part for what this is.
Right. But, well, that's why they threw some of these voice acting legends in here with her.
Yeah, I will say I think she did better than I expected, which was not good.
Yeah.
So
she mediocre expectations.
Yeah. So going on with the rest of the cast, we have D. Bradley Baker. He plays the voices of Ozzy, Baby, and Businessman. He has a very small amount of credits in his IMDb, only 671.
Wow. What a slacker.
Yeah, he's a real Stan Lee over here, just lazy. Anyways, I guess he's probably most known from Phineas and Ferb and American Dad. where he did like multiple voices, also Family Guy. But yeah, he's got like lots of stuff with like episodes in the triple digits. Um, Next up, we've got John Cryer, who plays Dave slash Clifford. Whew, John Cryer, man, he is. I kind of hate John
Yeah,
Cryer. To be
I'm not a. I
honest
don't
with you.
understand the appeal. Like, I tried watching the Two and a Half Men with him and Charlie Sheen.
It's a terrible
Yeah,
show.
oh, for sure. I mean, most sitcoms are. And yeah, I'm just like, man, that guy's annoying. Like, why is he still getting
Yeah.
work?
Now I do remember I saw him like in I think it was on Conan O'Brien, like being interviewed, and this must have been like towards the tail end of Two and a Half Men, where he talked about how like he was balding and they won't let him just like shave his head for the show,
Uh,
and they kept like putting like fake hairspray or something in his
oh
hair,
wow.
and he like I think like takes it off during the interview or something, like rubs it off or something
Oh,
just to like show
oh
people.
wow.
And he was actually like pretty funny in that interview and pretty self-deprecating.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess he's just a guy that he'll take whatever for the money. And I mean, it's hard to blame, right? Because I mean, Two and a Half Men was a huge hit, and I'm sure the residuals for that are great. So
Mm-hmm.
his new show looks even worse than Two and a
It
Half
really
Men.
does. It really does.
Extended Family,
Yeah.
like, oh my God, fuck.
Yeah.
Anyways, if you see John Cryer in something, there's a high chance it's not going to be good,
You could take
with the
that
exception of Hot
from
Shots.
John Cryer was in Hot Shots? Are you sure?
Yeah, he's Washout.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that.
I mean, I see it right here in his
Okay.
credits.
Well, then I'll. All right. Well, still, yeah, you're right. Great movie.
Anyways, moving right along, we've got Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill, he's been in a bunch of stuff. I think most people know him as the voice of Merlin in Wing Commander 1999
Right,
with
right. And from Cherry Corvette, like a Ron Howard movie that he directed, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. These are the things that most people know him for,
Hmm.
or that sci-fi thing, Sequest 2032. He was Tobias LeConte on
I was
that.
gonna mention that. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, that's what people know him from. Uh, we've got Serena Irwin as the voice of Persephone slash Cliche.
Hmm.
She doesn't have that many credits, but she's still working actively.
Hmm.
She's got a lot of episodes in the things that she's done. She just doesn't have a lot of separate things that she's
Sure.
done. But yeah, she is mostly a voice actress. We've got Tom Kenny playing Calvin Calhoun slash Leaf Blower. He's another guy that's done voice stuff, mostly SpongeBob SquarePants, or he's Patchy the Pirate.
Right.
If that means,
And
does that mean something to you?
and he's the voice of SpongeBob. Yeah. And
Oh,
also,
is that an important character?
I
That
mean,
show.
I've sort of heard of him. I'm kind of familiar with his work, but
I'm not really a sponge bobber, so
you're not going to SpongeCon
no,
2024?
I don't get sponged at
Oh,
these cons or whatever you guys
you're just
do. I
not
don't know.
sponge worthy. But how's
Yeah,
that
I
for a
guess not.
dated reference for you? But I will say, you can actually see Tom Kenny in the flesh if you want that on Mr. Show with Bob and David. Did you ever watch that back in the day?
I never watched the whole thing, but I've seen some clips. It's pretty funny from
Oh
what
yeah,
I've seen.
absolutely.
In this particular episode, we've got Kid
I
Rock.
don't think he was in
Um,
this one, was he?
he is. He's in the part one.
Okay.
He's the only like difference in cast between
Mm.
part one and part two. He's Stiffy Woods
Right, of
in part
course.
one.
Hmm.
Kid Rock, of course, he's most famous for being transphobe and homophobe. He's just a scared little man, basically.
Yeah, does it actually do rock? Just rap rock. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we've got Tom Wilson in this, also a Wing Commander alumni. Um, that's what he's most known for, right? The Wing Commander
Of
games, I
course,
believe.
of course. But you
Um,
can't skip Maurice LaMarche.
I'm not skipping him.
Okay.
I'm not going to save him for
Ooh.
last. Why? I'm a professional, Steven.
Right.
I'm the one that knew Kid Rock was in this episode. Don't, okay?
I don't.
Just
I would think
relax.
that would be something you would want to know.
Yeah, just sit back and let this American badass ball with a ball over the
Oh
credits. I
God,
don't
God. Tell me what your
know.
name is.
uh, Well, anyways, I'm going to tell you about this guy named Tom Wilson. He was obviously in Back to the Future as Biff. And yeah, he's been in a bunch of stuff, including some SpongeBob stuff, which is probably what you most know about. He probably really wrings the moisture out of you.
Oh,
Or
Jesus. Wow, what a reach. But sure, we'll go with it.
All right, and last but not least, we've got Maurice LaMarche. He's been in a bunch of stuff, Futurama, The Simpsons, which is what I'm sure you want me to mention. Um, he was most recently, a few years ago, though, Lieutenant Drew Patchett on Star Trek Lower Decks.
Nice. And of course, he's the brain from Pinky and the Brain.
Yes, but also he was in Star Trek Starfleet Command.
Do I need to
Orion
run
Pirates.
the the bumper?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, he's got 2 credits. Come
All
on.
right, here we go. For Maurice.
Ah! Oh no! We've just entered another Star Trek connection! Ah!
Some people call me Maurice. Wee woo. You know that song, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I do want to mention he's not in this episode in either of these episodes that we watched, but I don't know if you were aware that Vince McMahon is in 3 episodes.
I was not aware.
Yep. So Vince McMahon is in 3 episodes. He plays a character called Dirk McMahon.
Nice.
So I assume he's just playing like I was gonna say a caricature of himself, but he is a caricature of himself.
Right.
In real life. So
Woman.
yeah. Anyways, and that is the cast.
Hey Vince, we want you to play a womanizing wrestling promoter. You think you can handle it? It's the part I was born to play. All right. So yeah, it's amazing the amount of high quality voice actors they got in this. But I mean, I guess it was I guess Pamela Anderson was still really popular at that point, so everybody wanted a piece of that Anderson money, I guess. I don't know.
Sure.
All right, so the Stripperella opening begins, and basically we are treated, if you will, to Erotica Jones. That's Stripperella's real name, her regular, her Clark Kent, if you will.
Her government name.
Yeah. She performs a striptease with action footage of her counterpart Stripperella sort of intercut throughout the number. Can you describe the theme and maybe recite some of the lyrics from it?
It's like very generic kind of 90s dad rock. In fact, I was surprised when I heard lyrics about 30 seconds into it, because I thought it was just like some, like royalty free track number 5. It sounds like a WCW entrance theme. Basically.
I agree. Absolutely. But yes, some of the
the theme song. The theme wasn't it just like once the music kicked in, like Stripperella.
That's it.
Like over and over, basically.
It's like they, the writer of RoboCop Alpha Commando theme and Stripperella theme, they both went to like the same school for writing theme songs for cartoons, where you just say the title name of the character over and over again in the chorus, and bam, there you go. There's your your opening song. And also, okay, so it begins. How would you describe the animation style to people who are only listening at home?
So, it kind of falls a little like a cross between like that 90s superhero Saturday morning cartoon style of like Spider-Man, mixed with like a Flash cartoon, like a web Flash cartoon.
I don't know if I'd say. I mean, whenever you watch a Flash cartoon, like the motion is a little weird. Like I felt like the motion was fine. To me, it felt a lot like Freakazoid, that sort of style, maybe.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that.
But yeah, definitely like the sort of Spider-Man level, maybe slightly above, just a little bit.
Oh, really? I would have put it at slightly below.
Well, all right, listener, you take that and do with it what you will. Okay, so now we're inside. There is a fashion show going on. There's runway and everything. A very lean model walks the runway, and there's like, I guess he's supposed to be like a critic sitting in the road. He's like, ooh, how nouveau, like fashionable. I love it and hate it. Which kind of made me chuckle. And then out of nowhere, the model becomes morbidly obese. Her, like, I don't know, she just basically explodes. And she doesn't explode. She just becomes like basically a sumo level of heftiness and fall.
Yeah, she becomes like a morbidly obese, like a 600-pound person or something.
Yes, exactly. And she, I guess, falls on the crowd, and then we cut to the Tenderloin, which is the name of the strip club where Erotica Jones slash Stripperella lives, where she works. What did you think about the cold open? Like, what were your initial thoughts? Like,
I gotta be honest, I was like a little like, this is probably not gonna be great. Was kind of what I got from it.
yeah, no,
Um,
I'm with you. I mean, just like I mean, I just remember even seeing like again the commercials of Stripperella and kind of like rolling my eyes or whatever. But yeah, and I definitely felt that way after the beginning. But
yeah, it's definitely very eye rolling. I was glad that no one was there to watch it with me.
oh, you didn't invite your mom or dad or priest to watch it with you?
No, not this time.
Next time though. Okay.
I'm saving the Vince McMahon episodes for that.
Oh, nice. So we're at the Tenderloins, and there's a bouncer at. I guess we're on the outside, and this kid basically hands him his grandma's ID, and the bouncer goes ahead and lets him in. So then we're basically sort of getting little shots of how the Tenderloin sort of operates. Obviously, there are topless dancers dancing around, and then there is a man explaining to a blind man what one of the dancers' breasts look like. And then there's another patron who asks a woman, she's later revealed to be Persephone, for a dance. And for some reason, the bartender is like, "Oh, I'd love one." Like trying to horn in on the guy's dance. Like, did any of this stuff make you chuckle, or were you still in cringe mode?
No, and the bartender is like voiced as like an effeminate, your stereotypical
Mm-hmm.
effeminate gay man that they would, put that voice on like in the 90s and 2000s and stuff. And like, I mean, and depending on how it's written or played up, it can be funny,
Mm-hmm.
but it just kind of came off like, it wasn't particularly clever. It was kind of cringy. It didn't really make me chuckle.
What about the blind man? What about the guy explaining to the blind man what the stripper's breasts look like? Nothing there for you.
Uh, No, that didn't do it for me either. Because you know what it is? I think the show sometimes it'll come up with a funny joke,
Mm-hmm.
but then maybe because they know they're going to be on Spike TV, they feel like the audience won't understand it. So then they have to explain the joke and oftentimes do it again a second time right after the explanation, like a variation of it. And it just, I don't know. It really took me out of it.
I could see that. So the manager asks where Erotica is. And then we basically cut to, and Erotica is Stripperella, and she is in a zoo, like basically in the lion enclosure. She's got like a baby in her hands, and the lions are coming at her and the baby as the crowd looks on. And she basically fakes the lions out by wrapping a blanket around a rock and throwing it away. And then the lions go after that. And then she goes up and hands the baby to the mom. And the mom is like, "That blanket was an heirloom." Thoughts on that?
I mean, I didn't think that was funny either. We should mention the crowd thought that like she had thrown the baby to the lions.
Right, right.
So maybe she should be a magician instead of a stripper because her sleight of hand must be very good.
Well, I mean, as we're gonna see, I mean, basically, Stripperella has, much like Inspector Gadget, she has all the tools she needs, just sort of hidden in her very skimpy outfit. So plot armor, if you will.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And then they pan out and they're like show like that there's a playground right next to like the
see
enclosure.
that I kind of thought was all right. So Stripperella starts basically. She lectures the zookeeper. She's like, maybe build the playground not so close to the lion enclosure. There's like swings like with kids on it.
Yeah, there's like a swing like right next to the opening, and the way the enclosure is, it's like underground's not the right word, but it's like a pit.
Right.
And
They could swing
there's
right
like
into it, basically.
yeah, they could swing right into it basically if they wanted to, and I thought it was a funny idea, but I hate that she like explained it ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that was my only complaint, but it made me chuckle. I just wish that, I don't know, like they would have done it a little bit differently or just panned out, like have her not even mention it.
Yeah, just sort of walk away and yeah, I gotcha. So yeah, now we're back.
Maybe even have another kid as she's leaving, another kid like fall
Yeah,
in or
like
something.
that would have been funny. So now we're back at the Tenderloin. Erotica shows up and does her striptease. Everyone is there freaking out. Like, guys are literally drooling so much that one of the servers slips on her drool or whatever. And as it moves on, right before she's about to like actually like remove her top, her belly button ring beeps and flashes, and then just out of nowhere she says, "Oh, I gotta go, guys. See you later." And this is kind of like a running gag, where the manager tries to like lecture her to get back on stage, but I guess he just doesn't have any power, and she just walks by him and goes and does whatever she wants. Um, Thoughts on the animated striptease?
Wow, did it go on for a long
It
time?
did. I feel like they're really, at least they were trying to deliver on the promise of the premise or whatever. Because actually, after I got through these two episodes, another one started playing, and they didn't really have any sort of like gratuitous like strip scenes like this one in it. That's not to say that it doesn't happen like later on in some other episodes, and also in the interviews with both Stan Lee and Pamela Anderson, they said that the show is supposed to be more funny than it is like raunchy. But yeah, the strip.
Yeah, and it felt like I don't like it went on so long, Steve, that I was like, are they trying to actually like titillate the viewer or something? Because like you said at the beginning there's a lot of like comedy with the striptease and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, but then it stops and it's just like close up shots of like her ass and her spreading her
Mm-hmm.
legs, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, what are we going for here?
Right, right. Well, I mean, like I said, maybe they're just trying to deliver the promise of the premise. But yeah, haven't you ever heard of erotic comedy? It's supposed to give you a boner, but then you're laughing so hard you can't do anything about it.
Oh no, no,
That's a Garth Marenghi quote, by the way. You remember it?
oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay. It did sound familiar,
yeah.
but sorry, I haven't watched Dark Place quite as often as you.
All right. So anyway, after the long like, and it's that strip scene took up like most of the episode. Like this whole thing just sort of blows
Yeah, it
by.
is a pretty thin script, so maybe that's why
Sure.
they extended it so long.
So all right. So yeah, she leaves and then she goes outside and changes into her Stripperella outfit. Um, how would you describe the Stripperella outfit? Like, does it remind you of any other heroes or I don't know.
Offhand, it doesn't remind me of any other heroes, but it's very like 2000s, I
Sure,
will say.
absolutely. And they
Kind
also,
of looks like something you'd see somebody wearing at a club in 2002.
yeah, and they actually mentioned that they were going to use mocap technology to make sure that the proportions of Stripperella were equivalent to Pamela Anderson. And I mean, and they even had her shitty tattoos on there. So maybe, but I never
Yeah.
felt like anything was mocapped. Like, it's even the
No.
strip tease. Like, I mean, they clearly like animated that. Like someone, you know,
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely no mocap in this whatsoever. And if you're just trying to get her proportions correct, you can just use like a tape
a
measure.
ruler or a T square.
Yeah, and then just shrink it proportionally to the size of the animated character.
Right.
Like it's
I
not.
mean, I think it's just they're just trying to like make themselves sound fancy or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm sure it was like just a little marketing
Yeah.
tool that they were using.
Right.
Um, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was
I
just
was
gonna
about to
say
interrupt you, but I don't
her
think we've gotten to the part yet.
her mask reminds me of like the spirit, sort of that classic kind of like pulp mask or whatever. But yeah, you're right. The rest of it is just typical club girl. It's basically like a
Yeah, like something you'd see at Gadzooks.
what is Gadzooks?
Oh, it was like it's not around anymore, I don't think, at least. It was a store in the mall.
Oh
Kind
shit!
of had its
I
heyday.
remember
Yeah,
now.
you could buy
Yeah.
like pleather pants there
Right.
and dragon button-up
That was before
shirts
Hot
and
Topic came in and took over.
well, Hot Top, Gadzooks was more like club wear
I
type
see.
stuff,
I see.
like less than goth.
Tell us your Gadzooks stories in the comments below.
Yeah, I had a couple of fake leather pants from there.
Uh, that doesn't surprise me at all. So after she changes into Stripperella, she delivers what I thought was a pretty funny line. She says, "Evil doers, prepare to become evil don'ters." And what did you think of that line?
And her delivery was actually pretty good too.
Yes. Then her scooter turns into a like ridiculous motorcycle, which makes no sense, and that's why it's kind of funny. Then she runs into a department store, into the changing room, pulls down on a hook, which reveals a Batman-esque pole. Then she slides down the pole into this like underground lair. She shows this laser, her this number 0069 tattooed on her ass, and it
Ugh.
like I knew you'd hate
Yeah,
that.
like gets scanned.
Right, and it allows her to come in, and basically she's now into this like shield like lair or whatever, where she then goes into an office. This is so drawn out, where she meets Chief Stroganoff, voiced by Maurice LaMarche, and yeah. So, what did you? What I want to know is, where are the other members of this like shield like organization? I mean, I guess it happens.
Well, we know there's at least 68 other ones,
Right,
right?
exactly. Um, but yeah, I mean, any thoughts on all that stuff? I mean, obviously you weren't a fan of the 69 tattoo.
Yeah, I just thought it was like lame. And you know, I'm not like a prude by any fucking means. You know, fuck, I had to explain to you what edging is. You know,
You'll never let me
on
forget
a
that.
previous episode. But you know, so I'm not a prude or anything. It was just like dumb and
Yeah,
not
I think you're
funny.
like me, where what offends you is like dumb humor. And-
Yeah, well, the lack of creativity,
right.
and you know, they're just like, oh, well, some dumb fuck with truck nuts will find this funny. You know.
I never understood the point of those truck nuts.
Oh man, I got to send you this podcast episode from the Dollop about the history of truck nuts.
Oh
It's
God.
actually really, really funny.
Okay.
Um, like it's just a bunch of like middle-aged dudes that happen to like start putting out truck nuts at the same time, that each one of them like thinks they had the idea first, and like they end up getting into, and this is like a real life stuff that
Oh
happened, and
wow.
they got into like this feud, this online feud back in the days of like AOL and stuff.
Nice.
So yeah, it's pretty funny stuff. I'll send it to you. But anyway, yeah, and then once she's in the secret spy lair
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, you know, you've got. I did think it was okay when like the head of it's kind of like a bit of a bumbling fool. Uh,
Right. I really like the sort of play on the, obviously he's the chief, so he's sitting in this motorized wheelchair, which, you've seen with Professor X and the X-Men, with, people throughout James Bond over the years. And he like tries to use it to get around to like talk to her or something. And of course it malfunctions. So he just sort of like picks it up and starts throwing it around. It's like, I don't know why I even tried to use this thing like that. I mean, that made me chuckle just because it's making fun of, the old cliche of the old motorized
so
wheelchair thing.
man, so that part I hated. And it also, when he got out, I was like, and he made that joke because he says something like, I'm not even crippled or something like
Right.
that. And it was like a funny idea. But just before that, when he's in the chair trying to use, like you said, he zips around like a Looney Tune. Like the chair goes like from one side of the room to another. So it was just like tonally like way out of left field for me.
Mm.
And so like that already had me going, ugh. And then even though like the him getting out of it is kind of funny, like I almost think it would have been better if like he just tried to use it normally and it like stopped halfway across the room. And I didn't think the zipping around thing was necessary.
Yeah,
But
I mean it's an odd mix, like because they do have some stuff that hits, but they have a lot of stuff that misses.
yeah,
um,
and for me they have a lot of stuff. I know we haven't gotten to the Persephone and her boyfriend thing yet,
oh
but
God, you mean that pointless
yeah,
B
I've got some
plot that
thoughts
went
about that.
nowhere? Okay, yeah,
I got some
we'll get to
some
that.
some thoughts about that. Anyways,
So basically, he shows her news clips of like the model from the beginning of the show, exploding into hyper obesity, and then he sends her off undercover to the Pretty Girl Modeling Agency. And so now we are in a waiting room. Erotica meets another model, Cliche, And then the head guy, who I know his name is just something weird and backwards, but they don't really identify him. He calls Erotica into his office, and basically she sort of lightly questions him about the, exploding model, saying that they all came from his agency, and he doesn't know anything about it. And he says, "Now I'm going to leave you unsupervised for a minute." And
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. Oh wait, Steve, I'm sorry. Did we mention? I don't think we did. We talked about when her boss, after he gets out of the chair, he reveals that TV because he wants her to watch a video.
yes, yeah, I mean, I didn't mention
Okay,
it, but yeah, go ahead.
so I do. So basically, there's like this giant, like 50-foot tall wall,
Hmm.
and it starts opening up in this fancy. They did like a little CG animation for, which I was actually kind of surprised about.
Hmm.
And it reveals like a shitty, like 19-inch,
Tube
like
TV,
CRT
yeah,
TV or
yeah.
something.
That was
And I did think the reveal was pretty funny. But then I hate it afterwards. She's like, "Oh, maybe you should get a better TV," and it's like,
right. Well, I think she's she's obviously supposed to be stupid. So
is she though? I don't think so because she's the one that like solves and figures everything out.
yeah, so she's all right. Well, maybe all right.
He's the one that like her boss is supposed to be the idiot.
So she's smart, but then she also sort of makes dumb observations. Like,
Oh,
maybe they haven't
yeah, I
exactly.
mean almost like Clark Kent superhero type observations.
Right, right.
But anyways, it's just a minor quibble. And I mean, to be fair, by this point, I was kind of like tired of jokes being explained
Mm,
already.
mm,
Like, you don't need to tell me that this is funny because the TV is crappy.
right,
I know it is. Like,
right.
you could have her react like in her face or something like that, you know?
Hey, I'm
But
with you.
anyways,
I am with you. So yeah, like where are we? Okay, so she's in there. The guy leaves, and she uses like this. I thought was like dumb. She's got a camera that is on her tongue, and then she uses it to.
yeah, it's like a tongue ring.
Yeah, is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah, it's like a tongue ring that has like a camera in it,
Mm-hmm.
and she starts like OCR scanning the
Right,
documents with
right.
her
I
tongue.
mean, and I get it. They're just like, okay, so if Stripperella is a stripper, how is that going to play into her, superhero abilities or whatever? So I guess that's what they came up with.
Yeah.
Um,
And like you said, I mean, she does have like a very skimpy outfit on, but she has to have tools like Batman. So,
right,
you know, like her belly button vibrates and like the little bulb on it flashes red when they need to communicate with her.
right.
Her tongue ring, doubles as a camera.
Hmm.
Her nipples, I think, like have like a thing that can cut through glass.
In this
Like, so
other,
I mean, I thought that was
oh,
creative, to be
in this
honest.
other episode I watched, this guy had been brainwashed, and she's like, "My breasts have the ability to tell if you're lying or not." So, I mean, it's off camera, but I mean, you could see where it goes from there. But anyway, so yeah, basically the guy comes back, and he tells Erotica that she's got a job on her first modeling gig on a music video. So we cut to the video shoot. Erotica and the previous model, Cliche, they talk. Cliche says that she got her boobs and thumbs done. That was sort of like an exit line from the previous scene, because the main guy comes out and sort of like looks at Cliche, and he's like, "Your thumbs are too fat." So I guess that prompts her to go to the plastic surgeon. So she
Yeah.
goes, gets her thumbs and boobs fixed, and then they yell action, and then there's a weird sort of music video done by, I don't know, who would you say these guys are parroting? It looks like Iggy Pop or something like that.
It was hard to tell. I mean, maybe just like the music sounded like they were doing like generic late 80s rock,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, and the
Um,
name of the song was Encyclopedia Satanica, which I
yeah,
feel
the
like,
lyrics were kind of funny
oh
actually
yeah,
because
it
they talk
was.
about going door to door and selling satanic
It
encyclopedias.
was funny. So yeah, they're dancing around, and but before they started, the director told Cliche to go up on the high dive because they're all around a pool and stuff. So the song starts, and they're all dancing and everything, and then out of nowhere, Cliche turns morbidly obese, falls into the pool, causing all the water to come out of the pool, and she's like stuck in another hole in the bottom of the pool. So Stripperella has to save her by like tying a rope to, I guess, the high dive, and then one to her, and basically hoist her out like a giant fish or whale, if you want to go that way. And then has to like give her mouth to mouth to like bring her back to life. Any thoughts on that scene?
I mean, it was fine. It was, a little slapsticky or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, but yeah, it was fine. I mean, when she's giving her mouth to mouth. The, the I can't remember the singer from the band. I think it's a character that Kid Rock voices says something like, "Oh, this would be hotter if the other girl looked like, the way she did before she got
Yes.
big or
Yeah,
whatever."
yeah. Indeed. So now we're at the Tenderloin, and this is when I guess we're fully introduced to Persephone, and now she's dating a Siamese twin by the name of Dave, and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna meet the brother," and like this is sort of an ongoing like bad Howard Stern joke, sort of, because
Hmm.
yeah, it's just like, oh, how could she not have met the other brother since they're Siamese twins? Ha ha, get it?
Right.
If you don't like these jokes, you're gonna be very disappointed because this B plot continues all the way into part two, which were
Yeah, and again, and this is probably the most egregious example of explaining a joke because yeah, Persephone is like, oh yeah, I'm meeting his brothers first time, like you said, they're Siamese. So then the bartender is like, how could she not have met him if they're Siamese brothers? Get it? Oh my God,
right.
bro.
Yeah, nah, I'm there with you. And now we are at Erotica's, and she is looking, I mean, her apartment, I guess, and she is looking at photos from her tongue camera. She actually has to like plug it into a wire. It's so ridiculous. It's kind of, it made me chuckle a little bit, but also roll my eyes at the same time, which I think I could probably say that's what this entire show does. Um,
Yeah.
and then Erotica, in look well fashion, figures out that all the girls who became morbidly obese, they had boob jobs from Doctor Caesarean, and then I don't know, does she go to Doctor Caesarean's? No, that happens afterwards.
Who?
They cut to Doctor Caesarean's, and he's like talking to one of his patients, and he does an evil laugh like right there in the waiting room, and they all sort of like look at him funny, and he's voiced by Mark Hamill, by the way, if anyone cares. Like, I don't really feel like too much interesting happened there, but the one thing that I do think is interesting is like the final shot is like a weird CGI shot of Dr. Caesarean's office. Did you notice that?
Yeah, yeah, it's like a weird CGI zoom out
Mm-hmm.
pan from the interior of the office to the outside, and I mean it was pretty well done, especially for the time, but it was just like so out of step with the rest of the show that it was just kind of like a little jarring, even though it was well done. I will say I felt like the outside of the building that his office is
Mm-hmm.
in, it did it ever mind you or look to you almost like a building you'd see in Batman the animated
Oh,
series?
100%. I mean, I feel like this
Yeah.
definitely takes, a bit of that style of animation for sure. And obviously, that's a superhero show too. So, yeah, I'm sure they're building off of what was done in Batman the Animated Series in some ways.
Yeah, yeah.
So now we're into part two, and Erotica, disguised as a nun, visits Dr. Caesarion. She questions him, and he mentions that oh, it's weird. I wrote this down, but it never even like went anywhere. Like his receptionist comes in, or someone comes in and asks where they should go, and he's like, "Oh, you can go to room 1 or room 2 or floor 5 and 6, but do not go into room like floor 3. Whatever you do, no one should go into room 3." And I mean, I get, was that where all of his like weird crap was? I mean, I don't think we ever.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that must be
And I will,
what it is.
and again, at first when he said this, I'm like, oh God, are they like over explaining? Because the stuff again, but then I did think like the reaction of like his nurse or whatever was pretty funny. She's like, yeah, we get it. You're doing something underhanded in room
Right.
three. Uh, So I did get a little bit of a chuckle out of that.
Yeah, me too.
And of course, Mark Hamill does a really good job, as always.
Man, he's
Uh,
got his evil Joker laugh down. He just uses it for
yeah.
everything. Uh,
And that almost makes me wonder if that's why they made like his building look so much like a building from Batman the Animated Series. If that was a little bit
Little
of a
nod.
nod.
Sure. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, there's, clearly they're into like meta humor, making fun of stuff that's going. I mean, I think they wanted to like mix this with South Park style humor, but also, unfortunately made it dumber while they were at it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that.
So now we're back at the Tenderloin, and Persephone meets up with Dave and Clifton. Erotica sees them, and she mentions that she doesn't have a man because she's too busy fighting crime. And then she just leaves. Like, I really feel like this is probably too soon, but this whole episode probably could have just been, or two-parter could have just been one part if they just did away with this whole B plot with the twins and everything. But whatever, it's here, and
Because it has some like potential for like because on paper I could see how they might think it's a fun idea, like, oh, these guys are Siamese twins, but somehow she's never met the brother that he's attached to. And like they have like a few jokes in there where like it might be in part two where the British and like, oh, that's the other thing. One of the Siamese twins has a British accent and the other one doesn't.
right,
And the bartender, which is funny,
it is funny.
but the bartender again says after he explains, how can she not have met him? She goes, and why does only one of them have a British accent? It's like, oh fuck, shut the fuck up.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, I mean, this show clearly is made for the lowest common denominator, or as Yahel says, guys with nuts on their truck.
yeah. But it's like, man, it like the twin B plot. I mean, it's not good. I could have done without it as
Mhm.
well, but it would have been better if they hadn't explained some of this stuff.
Right.
Explained the joke, and then because it's not funny, I kind of wanted an explanation as to how she didn't meet him, and how like because they also say later like one of the brothers talks about how like he has to go back to London,
Right.
implying and it implies that the other one's gonna stay, and I think it would have been funny if they never explained that stuff. But because they already made the whole like premise not funny by explaining the
Right.
joke of them being Siamese twins, I was like, "Fuck! At least give me an explanation for
Yeah,
this."
they over-explain sometimes and then don't explain enough. Like, pick something, guys, and go with it. Come on, come on. So now we're back at Dr. Caesarian's. Stripperella breaks into the doc's place. This is when we see that she's got a lot of little gadgets and stuff like in her fingers, like little lock picks and things like that. She finds a lab filled with tubes that have like body parts in it. Then Dr. Caesarian finds Stripperella, and basically he monologues his entire plan and says that he was the manager of the Pretty Girl modeling agency. I like how he explains, "Ooh, look, I want to show you something." He explains that Dr. Caesarian backwards is what the name of the guy at the Pretty Girl modeling agency was, and he also rearranges his face since he's a plastic surgeon. He has the ability to do that. I don't know. Did any of that stuff make you chuckle?
Not really. And when he changes his face around, he does it like Mr. Potato Head style. Like he takes off his own
Yeah.
nose and whatever. Yeah, it didn't really do anything.
I mean,
for me.
it makes sense for an evil plastic surgeon to be a a stripper superhero's villain, but
Sure.
yeah. So now we're back at the Tenderloin. Persephone is dancing. Clifton, the British twin, is drunk. Dave and Clifton get on the stage and they fight each other. I kept waiting for them to to somehow get separated, you know? Like I thought that they were gonna like fall on like somehow fall through the stripper pole and it was gonna separate them, but yeah, it never happens.
Yeah, or like that they just like to wear this like because they have two sets of legs.
Hmm.
You know, so I thought it was gonna end up being that they just like are sharing the suit, the coat of the
Right,
suit is
something like
all
that.
or something.
Yeah. So Clifton admits to liking Persephone, and then we're back at Dr. Caesarian's. Stripperella comes to, and she's now strapped to a lab table. Dr. Caesarian says he hates models because his mom was one. And then he also said he's got like a million reasons to hate models. Like for his origin, he says he had a promising modeling career, but then something else happened, and they just kept piling on the origin stories, which I thought was kind of funny. What did you think about that?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad because it was funny how he says that like he had a modeling accident.
Yeah.
And that's why he was like disfigured or something. But he never explains it, which is fine. Like that's fine. And I wish they would have done more of that because that's what made it so funny. Like a modeling accident. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
It's almost like they weren't like the writing almost feels like either they're not confident enough of their own jokes or they're not confident the audience will understand the
I
joke.
think it's the second one. Because I mean,
I think so
yeah,
too.
yeah. So
And this could be something where like they got notes from producers or the
make
network.
it dumber. Make
Like,
it dumber. Yeah.
like, hey, we know our audience. They watch Mansers.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta
They
dumb it
got a
up.
pair of big balls on their truck. You got to make it stupid. All right. So Dr. Caesarian says he's going to kill all the models with exploding breast implants, and he already has the first one, I guess, armed, and it's on a model at the VH1 Fashion Awards, to which he turns on the TV, and we see like a clip of it, and we can hear audio from it. Stripperella escapes by, I don't know, there's something like in her foot that allows her to escape. Then she kicks the doc in the face, and he sends a robotic spider with like syringes for legs filled with cellulite after Stripperella. In which I'll give him points for, pulpy creativity here. Then, she basically fights with the spider for a little bit. And then she uses her leg strength to, she basically gets her legs around Dr. Caesarian's like neck. And she does like the sort of, kick flips him forward. And he was like up on a platform. He falls down onto the table where she was. And then he gets strapped to the table. And then the cellulite spider comes and injects him with fat. And, that is basically the final confrontation between Stripperella and Dr. Caesarian. What were your thoughts?
It was fine. Like the spider thing was pretty cool. It was pretty well done. I think this part wasn't part of it CG'd also, I believe.
I didn't really get that, but it's possible.
Like the platform that the Dr. Caesarian is on, I think was a CG element.
Yeah.
Not the spider itself, sorry. But yeah, I mean it was fine. At this point, I gotta be honest, I was like the jokes had really
you were
and
done.
The way that they set them up and pay them off, it had really kind of taken me out of the show at this point.
I gotcha. So basically, we don't even see like Dr. Caesarian, explode with fat or anything because Stripperella has to hurry up and basically stop the bomb from going off the VH1 Fashion Awards. So she hops on her like cool like motorcycle thing, and of course all these things are getting in her way. There's a train that crosses the road, so she has to stop. But luckily, a truck filled with ramps pulls up next to her, and she goes, "Oh, how convenient!" And then she uses the ramps to drive over the train. Were you rolling your eyes at that or chuckling?
Got a little bit of a chuckle.
Yeah, I like when they make fun of themselves. So anyway, she makes it in time. Like the model is up there on like at the platform giving some sort of speech. She runs up and says, "Oh, I have to defuse like the bomb on your chest." She like pushes the model down like behind the platform or so you can't see, and all you hear is like her sort of grunting, and you can like hear cutting noises and stuff. She Stripperella shows the bomb to the audience, and it's like even bigger like that it could possibly be. And she uses the lady's bra to like launch it out of the building, and it explodes just in time. And then at the very end, Stroganoff shows up and basically says that, and a random weird doctor, like they're standing in front of the rubble of Dr. Caesarian's lab, which conveniently the bomb had blown up. At least that's what they say. And so I guess Stripperella, she's like, "Oh, is Dr. Caesarian? Are you gonna lock him up or whatever?" And this weird random doctor shows up, and he's like, "Dr. Caesarian is dead. We found these body parts, so he must be dead." And then he just sort of like wanders away. Like, what did you think of that?
I mean, I was like, okay, so I mean, I get it. The whole idea is like clearly this doctor's like lying, and he's not gonna be dead. And like the next scene is that Dr. Sarian's like walking away or whatever, or walking in a building. I can't remember exactly what it was.
That's the final scene. But before we get to that, we're treated to the end of the B plot at the.
Oh yes, how could I forget?
At the Tenderloin, Persephone says that she got dumped because she slept with the other brother. So yeah, not a very good payoff for that because I kept waiting. Like, if they would have made it pay off, like there's supposed to be a point where the B plot and the A plot intersect, and that never happened. So that just means they wasted our time with that stupid twin stuff. And that's
yeah, and like I would have been okay with it not. I was expecting it to intersect as well, and I would have been okay with it not intersecting if it was, good.
Yeah.
but neither happened. So yeah.
And so, yes, and then the final scene is a trench-coated man. You see his cellulite-heavy legs walking to a train station, and then he, like, sneezes or something and his nose falls off. And that is the end of Stripperella, Beauty and the Obese, Part 1 and 2, Episode 1 and Episode 5. Are you ready to render a verdict, Yahel?
Yes.
Remembered or obliterated? That is the question.
All right, Agent Velasquez, do you think that Stan Lee's Stripperella should be remembered for all of human history or tossed into the black void of obscurity, never to be heard from again?
I didn't like this. I didn't think it was that funny. I didn't. I just didn't like it, and it did make me chuckle a couple times, but at that point, like even those parts, they didn't make me laugh as much as they would have if the majority of the other jokes would have been better written or at least not as explained. Because I was just like, oh, this is not good, not good. And then there'd be some that would make me chuckle, but I was already like not enjoying it, so it was hard to even enjoy the parts that I did find funny. So yeah, I can't imagine this dragging on for 11 more episodes or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a don't remember for me. But what about you?
All valid points. I think some of the episodes might be a little bit better, but yeah, these two episodes were, I don't know, definitely for the lowest common denominator. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I like the animation, and I like the pulpy aspects about it. But yeah, the writing for this one is not good, especially with the B plot. I might check out some of the other episodes someday, but for now, yeah, it's gonna be obliterated. So goodbye, Stripperella. Here we go.
The heathens have spoken. You are obliterated.
All right. Well, I think we did the world a service here. Yahel.
Yeah, and if you do want to watch Stripperella, it doesn't seem to be anywhere officially streaming. However, I did see on YouTube that there's some allegedly full episodes, but I don't know, they're like 17, 18-minute clips, so I'm not really sure if those are really full.
I think I saw some
you
on
rent it.
Daily Motion.
Yeah, you can I did see the first episode, I think, is on Daily Motion. I don't know if there's others, and you can also rent it on Prime Video at $2 an episode, or buy it for $2 an episode, if that's how you want to spend your money.
On your beanbag chair, if that's how you like to live your life.
But if you think about it, Steve, that's so much less than you'd spend at a strip club it's fiscally irresponsible not to buy it at $2. So.
You speak truth. You speak facts here. But yeah, well, that's pretty much our episode. Make sure you subscribe if you're not subscribed, and or how about a comment? Or maybe one day someone will write a review. Well, wouldn't that be crazy?
Or how about you throw a couple dollar bills on our stage as we twerk for you?
I mean, rather than twerking, I would much rather give you a comic book for those for those dollar bills. So yeah, there's always a link to the Reptilian Media store where you can buy copies of Escape to Earth, my comic. And one day there'll be other stuff there of some kind. We're gonna sell locks of Yahel's hair,
used underwear,
pieces of your
underwear.
coffin shelf when you get mad and smash it someday.
No, it's too expensive.
All right. Well, anything else to add before we sign off here?
I guess for people that are fans of my channel, I finished the script I've been working on forever. Finally, I am going to go through it and try and trim it down a bit because it is fucking long. But yeah, I should be editing by this weekend. I'm gonna probably film the on-camera segments tomorrow. Saturday at the very latest, and then start editing Saturday or Sunday. So yeah, there'll be a new video out in the near future from me.
Sweet. I'm sure there are a lot of people looking forward to that. And also, I guess we might as well go and say what we're covering next week. And that is going to be the pilot episode of Sliders, because the creator...
Sliders!
Because we recently found out that the creator passed away. So what better way to remember their work than by watching it and talking about it?
Yep.
All right. Other than that, we will see you next week as we continue to unearth more obscure media only on Obscurity Now. See you next time.
You've been enjoying Obscurity Now, a podcast that's recorded live to tape and streamed to Twitch and YouTube. Subscribe so you never miss an episode or hilarious quip. Take us with you by following the download links provided in the show notes to wherever you get podcasts. And take notice of our various social media links if that's what you're into. I'm not here to judge. And make sure you join us live next week at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific as we continue to discuss more obscure media only on Obscurity Now.